Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, I just wanted to put a bit of calm music on this morning because I'm feeling a bit stressed today for lots of different reasons. None of which are big reasons, but I can feel the stress rising up in me. So I need you to send me some calming vibes, some unstress, if that's the right word. Please send me some stressless vibes. So yeah, lots of little things that just irritate me and I feel stressed. And then I'm trying to get my head around to this mushroom murder trial again. I think this is stressing me out, to be honest, because this case, aren't we all just sick of it by now? And then to find out today that good old Mr. Justice Beale has been continuing his instructions to the jury, summing up, etc. And he's going to carry on tomorrow. And get this, he's going to carry on Monday as well. So just as we thought, we keep thinking we're at the end of it. We're not at the end of it. Oh my God. How does Ian feel? How does Ian feel about it all? You know, the survivor of these mushroom murders. He's got to go through another 3 days before the jury even, well, so he's got to go through today, Tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, where there won't be any sitting. Monday, the judge will finish off. When will the bloody jury go out to deliberate? Oh my God, I'm so stressed, and I'm not even a victim. I feel like a victim at the moment. I'm sure we all do. It's too much, isn't it? It's gone on so long. Now, it's a very important case. There's a lot, isn't there, for Justice Beale to talk about, to sum up the instructions he's got to give. He's got to make sure he's correct. He's not to be partial, is he? He's got to be completely impartial. Sum up things the defense want him to sum up things the prosecution want him to sum up. So I know it's difficult, but it's just he's not been very professional, I don't think, because he keeps saying something and then it's not true. So like at the beginning of this trial, it was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks. Then the judge said, oh no, it wasn't going to be as long as that. Then it's been much longer than that. We're in week 9 now. It's 3 weeks longer than it was originally supposed to be. Now, of course, what happened in between was Erin decided to give testimony. If Erin wouldn't have given testimony, it wouldn't be going on so long. Maybe this is a ploy by the defence, because this is the only defence they've got, isn't it? They didn't call any other witnesses. Erin's the only person who's spoken in her own defence. No character witnesses, a family haven't spoken. Nobody spoke up for Erin. So I'm like angry with Erin, stressed with Erin. It's all her fault anyway. And of course, the other reason probably why I'm a bit stressed is it is 34 degrees already. It's so hot here in Spain. Sorry for anyone who's watching for the first time and thinking, oh my God, I don't normally have a great big whinge at the beginning of a video. And then when I looked on today and saw that it was at the end is still not in sight of this trial, that I've been covering from day 1. So this is day 38 of this trial. See the gritted teeth? Day 38. And I'm not giving up on it. I will not give up on it. Of course, it's important. It's important for these victims. So, the 3 people who died. So let's just remember, as usual, these are the people that it's all about. Don Patterson, Gail Patterson, and Heather Wilkinson, who are all no longer on this planet because of the mushroom, beef Wellington with a mushroom paste lunch that Erin Patterson served up to them. Ian is still alive, but he's been through absolute hell. And these are all Erin's in-laws. This is her ex-partner's, gosh, I've forgotten his name now. Honestly, my head is completely gone today. I want to say Stephen. Why do I want to say Stephen? It's not Stephen. Simon Patterson. So why did they, there's a lot of discussion about the motive. Why did she do it? Was it just spite because she was no longer the queen bee of the family like she used to be? Her and Simon were estranged and their relationship was growing more and more distant, because even though they were separated, she'd still really been in control of everything. They've got 2 children together. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here because it's all on the playlist in the description box of this video. What else did I want to say? So it's so hot. I've got aircon on. I've got 3 fans on. Actually, I've just turned the aircon off for a while, and it's still too hot. So that makes you feel even more stressful. Okay, so oh dear, it's funny how little things can stress you. A lot of little things conspire together to a big thing. That's what we've seen in Erin's trial, isn't it? Every one piece of evidence against her is not enough in itself to make you think that Erin is a cold-blooded murderess. But when you put all of them together, it makes a big thing. That's how my stress levels are at the moment. Anyway, I'm calming down now. Now that I've got onto stream. Because, of course, just before I came on stream, as always, things were happening. And anyway, I'm here now. Deep breath. Deep breaths. And what we're going to hear about today, and I haven't read all of it, I've only read bits of it, I haven't had time to read it all, is the judge's, is it the third day of summing up? So the judge started summing up. So you forget in this case because it goes on so long. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This is the third day the judge is summing up, and he's expecting to sum up again tomorrow and even go into Monday. So it's going to be probably Tuesday, next Tuesday at the earliest, before the jury goes out for deliberation. I think I'm going to get a bottle of cava in to celebrate that. The end of this. The end will be in sight at least now. How long the jury will be deliberating for, I have no idea. It could be an open shut case in their eyes. It could be an hour, 2 hours. It could be 2 weeks deliberating. You know, that's a whole nother thing, isn't it? So, and I'm sure that when this case is over, I will miss talking about it or discussing it. But at the moment, I wouldn't miss it at all. But anyway, there you go. That's how I feel at the moment. So, okay, I can see a lot of you are in chat. I've been waffling on as usual. Well, I say as usual, I don't waffle quite as much. Just need to, I'm going to put my waffle thing on. Yeah, bit of waffle. Just send me some nice calming, cooling vibes. I'll be fine. Okay, where are we? So yeah, thank you so much for those of you stuck with this case, because it's hard for you as well. I know, you know, it's like we want to know about the case, we want to see the resolution of the case, but it's been hard going. It has been hard going. It's all Erin's fault. Sorry, Erin, it's all your fault. For God's sake, why didn't you just admit what you'd done? You foraged for mushrooms, whether intentionally or not, and they ended up murdering your relatives. You know, why didn't you just admit it? Save everybody a lot of hassle. Anyway, so yeah, thank you to those of you who have stuck with me. Thank you to those of you who like my videos, subscribe, share videos. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you that participate in any positive way. Special thank you, of course, to my members. We've got the members live tonight. It's Thursday. Thursday's members night. And I'm not sure yet what we're going to talk about. I haven't got as far as thinking about that, but we always find something interesting to talk about, that's for sure. Special thank you to those of you who bought me a Ko-fi, PayPal me, bought some merchandise, my merchandise. The shop is open. Let me put that up. I always forget to do this. Yeah, you can shop now. You can buy mugs, etc. That's on my Ko-fi page. And those of you who have ordered, I think there's one that's not arrived yet, though it is in, it's being delivered as we speak. I think it's due tomorrow to be delivered. They'll know who they are anyway. What else? Yeah, thank you to those of you who send me emails, leave nice messages, leave nice comments. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And they are the things that make me keep on going, I can assure you, because sometimes there's so many cases to cover. I get a bit overwhelmed sometimes because they're all important. Like this morning, I finally managed to get out the premiere about Edna Quintana that I've been meaning to do for ages. They're all as important as each other, but it's just time. Time is the enemy, just not enough time. And of course, with the heat at the moment, it's harder. So it's more difficult for me to do videos in the evening because I'm normally like a washed out rag by the time the evening comes. It's just too hot. So yeah, but anyway, I'm getting through them. I've got a list of cases that I want to cover that are important to me to cover, cases that resonate with me. Edna was one of those. I've done Edna's case this morning. I hope you'll all watch that video and send some there's not much we can do. Really, we are not armchair detectives. We are people who are interested in cases that happen. We want resolution for families. We care about the victims. We care about the families. And that's all we can do sometimes, is shine a light on cases, send out some positive vibes to those families. And it means something. You know, the people that are actually going to find the perpetrators and get the justice, that's the police, the law enforcement, whichever country it is. And they're the ones that will do that. But we can also sort of put pressure on them, because you can bet 100% when, especially when it's high profile cases, law enforcement, there'll be somebody who's looking at all the social media that's going on, chatter that's going on about that case. You can bet that one. Well, I know that for a fact, because of emails that I've received and things. They're always, you know, I might be a tiny little channel in the YouTube terms. You just don't know who's watching, and that is a fact. So I'm going to take my banner off now. I've said thank you to everybody, and I'm going to say hi, lovely lurkers. I've been doing a little bit when I'm sort of wrung out and I just can't do a live myself. Quite often I do go into other people's channels. I don't know why, it's like watching a train wreck most of the time. But yeah, it's amazing how many gossip channels there are. You know, it's like, it's just all they do is talk about other channels. Or, you know, and then they all moan that the other channel is doing nothing but talk about other channels, and that's all they're doing. It is quite funny, actually. So yeah, sometimes when I don't feel like thinking too hard, I don't need, you know, when I feel like I've had a lobotomy because it's so hot, they're the sort of channels that I'll watch. But yeah, so there's nothing wrong with being a lurker, as long as you're not. I don't do any harm to these channels. I don't comment on them. I don't troll them or do anything like that. But then you do get some loathsome lurkers as well. But hi to you as well, because you need a hello probably more than anybody. And hello to Replay Crew. Thank you for watching. Thank you, all of you that's watching in any way, shape or form. Thank you for caring about Don, Gail, Heather and Ian, the victims in this case, because they are the most important things, aren't they? And now I'm going to come into the chat and say hello to those of you who are brave enough to come into the chat, all my lovely chatters. I love my community. And honestly, that's the other thing I realise when I go into other chats or watch other chats. I don't go into them. How nice our community is. You know, it's so lovely. We don't live... you know, our channel is not about slagging off other channels. Our channel is not just about criticising other people and this, that and the other. We genuinely want to, we care about the people that we talk about. Okay, so I'm coming in to say hello. Sorry about the waffle. That's more waffle than usual, isn't it? Hi, Sandra. Sandra was the first today. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Lily. Hi, Bluebell. Hi, Sheep Farming. Thank you. Hi, Sean. Hi, Annie. Glad to see you here. I know sometimes you've probably got busy things going on at the moment. Hi, Maria. Oh, Tracy, nothing important that I'm stressed. Really, lots of little things, that's all. Calm it. Yeah, deep breaths, deep breaths. I feel better already, to be honest. Just listening to the music and you know, sort of moaning about it. Sometimes a good moan helps, doesn't it? Hi, Kaz. Hi, Friday. Yeah, I agree. Oh, you know, sometimes you just think, what is going on here in this case? Just, yeah, are they trying to bore the jury to death? It's like, you know, just making them give up on life. That's how it feels like. Imagine if you're in that jury. And as I was saying yesterday, because this, well, there were 15 jurors, one's been removed, so there are only 14. Imagine you've gone through all that, and then when the ballot finally happens to choose 12, these two won't be going forward to the verdicts. You've been sat through all that for nothing. I'd be raging. Hi, Heather. Hello. Hope you're okay. Yeah, Maria, shit happens. It certainly does. Oh, 14 degrees, Tracy. You're so lucky. I wish it was 14 degrees here. Look so lovely. Do you know, people always say that to me. I'm not saying they always say I look lovely, but quite often when I see people out and about, and they say, "Oh, do you manage to look so cool in this heat?" That's not how I feel inside. That's something I don't know. It's just my face. It's funny. My face doesn't seem to translate how I feel inside. Like when I feel really hot and bamboozled and sweaty and all this, it doesn't seem to show. I don't know. Maybe I've just been lucky like that, but believe me, that's how I feel. I think there's just so much information to go through, Bluebell. That's why I think. And then they keep having these bloody legal thingies, don't they? So anyway. Glad to hear you're still feeling better. Hi, Linda. Thank you. Do you know this necklace? Do you know, it's funny. As soon as I put this necklace on, I thought, I bet someone comments on this necklace because often people do. And you know, I bought it maybe 4 years ago, but in a charity shop in Manchester, of all places, in Bury. I went in a charity shop. It was probably £1 or something. I can't remember how much it was. Well, it would have been much more than £1 or £2. And I loved it as soon as I saw it. And of course, I like things to match, so it goes with this dress. But people always comment on it, and it just shows you. I love charity shops. I really do. Oh, thank you, Heather. Love me. Hi, Miss Lee. Oh, do you know, I could just eat. Do you know what? Do you know what, Maria? Maybe that's what's wrong. Maybe I need some chocolate. Can't remember the last time I had chocolate. I don't know why I'm looking around the living room, but I don't think because normally I have it hidden somewhere. Oh, don't. That was it. I was raided last night. One of my hiding places was found. Anyway, so that's probably part of the reason that I'm stressed. It means I have to go out and get more provisions when I had plenty of provisions. But when my hiding place for my provisions gets found by number one's son, then I have to go out and buy more provisions. But I haven't got any chocolate, so I'm going to go out and buy some chocolate. Okay. Oh, let me hide that comment. So I think I've said hello to everyone. If I didn't say hello to you, say hello again, and every now and again I'll come back to the chat and say hello. But I'm going to get through what happened because it's a long one again. It's a long one. Get your cup of tea, get your provisions, whatever you've got. Get your chocolate. I wish I had some chocolate. I'll have some chocolate to buy tonight, that's for sure. Maybe I need a bit of chocolate, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get on with it. Just going to have it. Oh, so you've just got to keep drinking, which means you're on the loo. It's like, it's too hot. And as always in Spain, got 1 minute it was freezing cold, the next minute it was boiling hot. I think we're going to get like 40 odd degrees by next week. It's not even July yet. But I think July is always the worst month, to be honest. July is the worst month. By August, normally it starts to cool down again a little bit. Okay, let's have a look at this, what's been going on. So I'm not going to update from what's happened up to day 38 because that's all on my playlist. So if you get some bad weather this weekend or you feel like binging on something, there's at least 38 videos about this case from every day of the trial. I've been every day where the jury has been there and we've been able to know what's gone on. I've done a video about it, so it's all there on the playlist. So Justice Christopher Beale has been given his final directions to the jury members since Tuesday, and we expect he will continue to do so today. And this is the final stage, but this final stage that he said last week, Justice Beale said last week, he expected it to be finished by Tuesday. And now here we are, it's Thursday, and he's saying he's still got another 2 days to go. Hey. We don't need to know what's happened yesterday. That's on the playlist. So as the jury enters, Justice Beale provides a quick update in terms of timeline. He tells the jury he will continue his charge or his summing up today and tomorrow morning. You'll be able to go home for the weekend, and then I'll continue completing my charge on Monday. He is expected to finish delivering his directions on Monday. Oh my God, because I'll tell you what, I hope he does finish Monday, because I think definitely all of us will have lost the will to live by then. At which point the jury will be sent out to deliberate. As you know, whilst you're engaged with your deliberations, at the end of each day you'll be sequestered, and this means they'll be taken to accommodation each night rather than going home until a verdict is reached. Now, I think that will lead to a quicker verdict, to be honest, because most of them, they will want to go home, won't they? They won't want to be away from home, I would imagine, or maybe they will. I mean, the way I feel at the moment, oh my God, the thought, if they sequestered me, I could be there for 6 weeks at the moment, just get some nice time to myself. No dogs, no number one son, no cleaning, no cooking. Can you imagine? Brilliant. Quite like to be sequestered for a while. And you know, it's interesting because this word sequestered, which is of course an English word, in Spanish, there's a similar word, sequestro, I think it is, or something like that. And that is a kidnapping. I feel like being kidnapped at the moment. So sometimes I think, oh, it'd be nice to be kidnapped. And I'm joking. I don't mean I'd really want to be kidnapped, but you know what I mean. To escape, just escape and not have any cooking, cleaning, worrying about anything. You know, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? So anyway, his directions yesterday touched on the first of a series of alleged actions that the prosecution argues represent incriminating conduct on Erin Patterson's part, and the judge begins today's proceedings by focusing on the second issue, alleged lies in relation to the use of dried mushrooms bought from an Asian grocer. God, I wouldn't care if I know. You know, this reminds me a bit of the Nicola Bully thing, where I thought if I never hear the word side scan sonar again, it would be too soon. This is how I feel about Asian grocer now. We just heard this, how she bought her mushrooms from an Asian grocer, you know, but she didn't remember who they were or even where it was. She's got no record of buying them, you know, etc., etc. So Justice Beale revisits testimony from various witnesses, some of whom recalled Miss Patterson saying she purchased mushrooms from a supermarket in Leongatha and an Asian grocer. There's that. Oh, you count how many times you hear the words Asian grocer. I should have a button for that. Asian grocer. Possibly in the Oakley area. The accused later said it was possible the Asian grocer was in Glen Waverley, but she couldn't remember the exact store. Another witness gave evidence that Miss Patterson said she purchased fresh mushrooms for the dish from a Woolworths in Leongatha and dried mushrooms from Oakley or Glen Waverley. Other witnesses mentioned Clayton and Mount Waverley as locations where the dried mushrooms may have been purchased. So the one thing we have found out through this trial is Erin is a liar. She's a self-confessed liar. Erin's defence is, yes, I lied over and over again, but now I'm not lying. That basically is Erin's defence, I think. It's like, yes, I said all these things that were lies. The judge went through her lies, didn't he? I think in yesterday's thing. Yes, she's admitting to all that, but what she's basically saying is, I lied then, but I'm not lying now. So as a result of what she said, an investigation was carried out across a number of these areas, which she did not cooperate in at all, given the possible public health risk if store-bought mushrooms were responsible for the poisoning. So you can imagine, well, we see it all the time, don't we? Even your local Tesco, somebody who bought something from your local Tesco or whatever is your local supermarket, and then there was a health problem that someone got ill and went to hospital and died. Of course, 3 people died. You could imagine there'd be, that store would have to recall all the products. There'd be a massive inquiry, wouldn't there? It'd just be, that'd be awful, wouldn't it? But nothing, and that's what happened. A big investigation happened, but nobody else was ill. Nobody else was ill. And nobody else was admitted to hospital with death cap mushroom poisoning. So it makes you wonder, let's suppose Erin for once is telling the truth, and she did buy them from the Asian supermarket. Nobody else was affected, so it was just the packet she bought. So Justice Beale continues detailing evidence we heard during the trial about the dried mushrooms. A reminder that no new evidence is being put forward at this point, just summaries. We are reminded that Erin told witnesses the dried mushrooms she says she bought from an Asian grocer were packaged in a small see-through bag, and the label did not have much writing on it. One witness said Miss Patterson told her the mushrooms were originally bought for a pasta dish. Yep, she said that. She said she originally was going to make carbonara with them, but when she opened them, she thought they smelled funny, so she didn't use all of them. Oh, she used some of them. I thought she didn't use any of them, but anyway. She said she rehydrated the dried mushrooms, chopped them up, then added them to the supermarket mushrooms for the beef Wellington dish months later, like you would. So mushrooms that when you first opened them smelled horrible. You thought you'd save them for another few months and then chop them up and put them in a special dinner. She kept saying how special this dinner was. It doesn't make sense, that, does it? She apparently, kept them all that time and then decided to use them for the beef Wellington, because she said, in her words, they were perfect. Although they smelt pungent, they were perfect for beef Wellington. Sally Ann Atkinson from the health department gave evidence that Miss Patterson later told her that they had not been used in any meal. Thing is, Erin has told so many different stories, she can't remember what the truth is. She can't remember. That's it. When you tell lies like that, you can't remember what you've said before. Erin cannot remember what she said initially, can she? So there you go. In fact, let's have the Pinocchio for that, because it's just more. So anyone who's new watching, you'll see that when we get, hear blatant lies, we have a look at the little Pinocchio video. We've been using the lies we think she's told, but she's saying she isn't, because Erin's answer to everything is, I can't really remember, I'm not sure, might be, but I'm not sure. But we have seen as well that she's actually got a razor sharp memory, Erin. Anyway, so a transcript from earlier evidence is read to the jury, where the health department, Sally Ann Atkinson, said Erin Patterson cited Oakley, Clayton and Glen Waverley as areas where she may have bought the dried mushrooms from an Asian grocer. A health department investigation found it highly unlikely that a commercial supply of mushrooms became contaminated by amatoxins. Justice Beale then touches on Miss Atkinson's notes. He reminds the jury she would take scribble notes before transferring them into a typed document within an hour or so. She would then transfer notes from this document into something called the Public Health Event Surveillance System. Now, let's remember that the prosecution brought forth 50 witnesses to prove their case. 50 different witnesses, and they ranged from, of course, the survivor, Ian Wilkinson, Erin's ex-husband or estranged husband. There was video evidence from her own children. There was evidence from data experts. There was evidence from mushroom experts, evidence from the Sally who did the investigation, from doctors, from nurses. There were 50 different witnesses called to prove the prosecution case. And Erin's defense called Erin. That was it. No other witnesses. So the judge reminds the jury that health department officials located dried mushrooms in Oakley that matched the packaging description Erin Patterson gave. And Judge Beale says the department's Sally Ann Atkinson gave evidence that Miss Patterson was never precise about the location of the store, and it wasn't until their third conversation that she first mentioned Glen Waverley. Miss Patterson was asked to look at some maps during the investigation, but struggled to remember the location of the store. Then they took a break. As promised, Justice Beale returns to evidence given by Katrina Cripps. The child protection officer gave evidence that during her first conversation with Erin, the accused said she purchased pre-sliced mushrooms from a supermarket and dried mushrooms from an Asian grocer in either Oakley or Clayton. This conversation took place while Miss Patterson was in hospital. In her evidence, Miss Cripps mentioned a conversation she overheard between Miss Patterson and Sally Ann Atkinson from the health department, where the accused told Miss Atkinson she could not recall where she purchased the dried mushrooms. She said she overheard Miss Patterson tell Miss Atkinson she was going to use the dried mushrooms in a carbonara, but they had a strong smell. Miss Patterson reportedly said she put the dried mushrooms in the beef Wellingtons because they wouldn't be the primary flavour. What would be the primary flavour then? Anyway, later Miss Cripps asked if Miss Patterson had picked the mushrooms that were used in the lunch, but she did not answer her. So remember, there's a couple of times that people said they asked Erin if she'd foraged the mushrooms and she just blanked them. Just didn't answer. But then when the police asked her, she said no, she never forages mushrooms. Never. And then later, when she'd had time to think about it, when it was coming up to the court case, suddenly she was an avid forager. She was often foraging mushrooms. So she's such a liar. She's such a liar. She never had a dehydrator. Oh, yeah, sorry, I did have a dehydrator. When it was found that she had I think Erin just did not realise that so much investigation would happen into her. She was seen dumping the dehydrator at the local dump. She just didn't realise. She thought she was a super sleuth, like Facebook. She was a member of true crime Facebook groups. I think that's another thing we have to remember. She was interested in true crime. She was interested in it. And her other Facebook groups, the true crime groups, described her as a super sleuth. So I'm sure, another reason why I don't care at all about saying things about Erin is it seems to me that when she was a member of a true crime Facebook group, she was saying things about cases that were going on. You know, she was doing it. She was loving it. And I think Erin thought she was so clever, so clever. And, you know, I actually quite like it. They're my favourite cases, are what people who think they're so clever and the police will never find out what's happened. You know, they've committed the perfect crime because they're so intelligent that when they get caught out like Erin was, it's good. Feels good. So the trial was told that samples were taken from the lunch leftovers and a dehydrator was recovered from the tip. With DNA was extracted and barcoded. And Dr. David Lovelock, I mean, we've forgotten most of these witnesses. There was that bloody many of them, 50 witnesses, you know, and we're on day, 38 or something. You do forget about the witnesses. He specialises in plant virology and bacteriology, and he was advised by Victoria Police to look for death cap mushrooms. And the only thing we found was DNA for white button mushrooms. And they also found beef. Having said that, now that wasn't the first one where Dr. David Lovelock, was he not the one that did the, you know, see, I've got confused now, there's that many things. There was one that didn't do one only did a visual. One only did a visual examination, and then another one actually did a proper test, and I've forgotten which was which now. So the judge reminds the jury that an interim report indicated that a second mushroom species was detected. Police told Dr. Lovelock not to worry about this species, but the samples from the dehydrator returned a different result, the trial heard. Justice Beale reminds the jury that 2 of 7 test tubes from the dehydrator samples detected Amanita phalloides, or death cap mushrooms. And then the judge continues to focus on the dried mushrooms, revisiting an earlier stage when the accused did not believe death cap mushrooms were in the meal. Miss Patterson gave evidence that she did not lie in a police interview about purchasing mushrooms from an Asian grocer and using them in the beef Wellington. No, she didn't lie about that. She lied about all those other things, according to her. She didn't lie about that. Then we turn to Miss Patterson's accounts of various conversations she had with people about where she purchased the dried mushrooms. She previously disagreed with some recollections of what she told them about where the dried mushrooms came from. So do you remember? So Erin, she just said, no, that's not true. You know, when these people came up, she said, no, that's not true. That's not, I don't remember. She contested so many people's accounts, didn't she? So Justice Beale is now summarising the prosecution's argument in regards to the dried mushrooms. It argues Miss Patterson was not forthcoming about the store where she purchased the dried mushrooms and continued to change the possible location of the store she bought them at. The prosecution said Miss Patterson appeared to have a remarkable memory when it came to other details in the trial. So remember that. I think the prosecutor tricked Erin, didn't she? It was very clever, that actually, what she did, because Erin had been saying quite often, hadn't she? She couldn't remember, she wasn't really sure, you know, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. But when Dr. Nanette Rogers, the prosecutor, talked about a day where Erin was supposed to have gone somewhere or done something, and she said the wrong day, and Erin jumped right in, didn't she, and said, oh no, you know, I don't mean to be argumentative, but that was a Friday. And it was something, it was a day in April 2 years ago, you know. And if somebody said to you, oh, you know, 2 years ago in 2023, the 12th of April, what day was it? You know, unless it was your birthday, would you even really remember it? What day it was? I wouldn't have a clue. Would you have a clue whether it was a Monday, a Wednesday, Friday, a Sunday? But Erin was straight in. So I think Dr. Rogers did that on purpose, because she brought that up in her closing arguments, and she said, oh, isn't it funny that Erin, says that she can't remember things like where she bought the bloody mushrooms from, but she could remember that the 12th of April or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact date. They're the things you'd forget, aren't they? Erin jumped right in and went, oh no, that was a Friday. So there's nothing wrong with Erin's memory. She can pretend all she wants that she's got Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever. That's how it felt, wasn't it? Hey, Swin. Hi. Sorry, I'll just say hello to people that have come in. Hi, Joanne. Did I say hello to David? I've forgotten you back from the painting again. I know, 50. 28th of April, was it, Lily? Yeah. So do you all remember what you were doing on what day the 28th of April was? Well, we know it's a Friday now because Erin told us. But if somebody had said to you, what day, as I say, if someone said to you what day was the 13th of March in 2023, you'd have to look at a calendar, wouldn't you? Anyway. So where are we? Yeah, so the prosecution said she seemed to have a remarkable memory when it came to other details in the trial, but she couldn't recall the shop or even the suburb. Yeah, so not only she couldn't remember the shop she'd bought those mushrooms in, she couldn't even remember what area it was in. So you might not remember the particular shop. If you'd been to an area where there's a lot of Asian supermarkets, if I went into Chinatown in Manchester or somewhere like that, maybe I wouldn't remember exactly which shop I bought it from, but I would remember that I bought it in Chinatown in Manchester, not in Chinatown in Birmingham or wherever there's another Chinatown. It's just totally ridiculous to think she didn't remember the area. It said her stories about packaging became more elaborate. Initially saying she didn't have the mushroom packaging. Then she said she put the mushrooms into a container. And eventually she gave details about the packaging, including it had a handwritten name. The prosecution argued it was strange that Miss Patterson could form a detailed account of the packaging, but she could not remember the store name. The story about the Asian grocery just could not be true, Justice Beale tells the jury that the prosecution said. He also highlighted evidence before the jury that death cap mushrooms do not grow in China and no one else got sick in the community. And this is the most telling thing, isn't it? Apart from the fact that these death cap mushrooms do not exist in China anyway, so they won't have been packaged in China and sent over. Let's suppose they'd been sourced locally and put in packaging, so she's casting aspersions on the actual supermarket itself that it's going out foraging mushrooms and putting them in packets, regardless of whether they're death cap or not. But nobody else got sick, so basically what she's saying is that very one packet that she bought, every other packet was fine, nobody died from it, nobody else died, only the people that came to her lunch. So only the packet she bought had the poisonous mushrooms in. Right, where's my liar thing? It's unbelievable. I hope the jury see it, because to me it's just it's not a question of, oh well, it could be true, can't be. And from a person who's got a record of lying, so it's not only that that's the only lie Erin's told. We know at least 8 other lies that she's told during this case that she's admitted. So suddenly it's like, yes, this is what keeps saying, yeah, I lied about all those things, but I'm not lying now. Okay. Justice Beale then recaps the defence argument in relation to the dried mushrooms, and defence lawyer Colin Mandy argued that prosecution cherry-picked evidence about the issue. He argued Miss Patterson was consistent in the evidence she gave. She was never certain of the suburb where she claimed to have bought the mushrooms. He said she had many conversations with many people, about 21 over a 24-hour period, and some variations could be put down to imperfect memories or mistaken recollections. Yes, like the Queen said, recollections may vary. Whatever. The defence also pointed out the presence of a second kind of mushroom that weren't death cap mushrooms, which was supported by evidence from Dr. Lovelock, the plant virologist. Another little break. They move on to the next topic. What the prosecution argues are lies that Erin told about feeding her children leftovers the day after the lunch. This was the other strange thing. We'll say the other. There were that many strange things. You could make a bloody Tales of the Unexpected series out of it, couldn't you? You could make, there's that many strange things. So, what did Erin Patterson feed her children the day after the lunch, even though she was supposedly already ill and her relatives were already ill? She fed her children the leftovers from that very same lunch. Oh my God, as if you would. So, yeah, you make a lunch. Right, let's just think about this. You make a lunch for your family, a special lunch. It's lovely, delicious. It was described as, they said it was a fabulous lunch. Then, everybody got ill. So, the next day you think, oh, I've got some leftovers from that lunch that everyone's got ill from. I know what I'll do, I'll give them to my children. She did that to try and show there was nothing wrong with those leftovers, because they weren't the leftovers that she fed her children. She said she fed the leftovers, but with the mushroom paste scraped off. Cojones. So Justice Beale starts with evidence given by, sorry, I'm just looking, I need to send a message in a minute. Evidence given by Simon Patterson about conversations he had with his estranged wife. And in one of the conversations, Miss Patterson mentioned feeding the children the leftovers, and they needed to be picked up from school and assessed in hospital. Though she didn't want to take them to hospital, let's remember. So Mr. Patterson picked the children up, and his evidence was that one of them mentioned eating steak and vegetables for dinner the Sunday night following the lunch. We were then brought to the children's interview with the police, where they said their mother told them the dinner was leftovers, but they didn't see her prepare it. So the defence argued that Erin was never certain of the... Oh, sorry, I'm going backwards. Sorry. Then we return to the toxicology report. The judge reminds the jury that during Miss Patterson's second hospital presentation, Dr. Chris Webster asked her if anyone else had eaten the beef Wellington. And she replied, only the meat, not the mushrooms or the pastry. And we're now taken to a toxicology report from leftovers found in the bin. The report found beta-amanitin, or death cap mushroom toxins, was detected in the mushroom paste sample and in the meat sample collected from the leftovers. Now, do you know, this is what I think happened. You let me know in chat if you agree or if you think so. What Erin did was there were no leftovers of any, the leftovers she put in the bin were that fifth beef Wellington that she'd prepared for Simon. Do you remember Simon was supposed to be going to the lunch her estranged husband? He was invited, and at the last minute he said he wasn't going. But she sent him a message, sort of more or less, sort of saying, "Well, I hope you'll turn up, lad." She was hoping he would come right till the last minute. There will have been a beef Wellington for him. That'll be what those leftovers were, with the paste scraped off. Now, what she fed the children was probably something completely different. Or maybe it was the leftovers from her beef Wellington that had no poison in it. That's what I think. Don't know what everybody else thinks, but that's what I think. Hi, Jeanette. Yes, we all agree. We agree. Yeah, we agree. I think most people on this channel, now, maybe that the jury won't agree. Now, don't forget the jury have seen everything. We haven't seen everything. And they've also, the jury have seen Erin speak. I would have loved to have seen Erin actually speak so I could judge for myself, whether I felt like she was telling the truth or not. But of course, we couldn't see that. We're just getting like a second-hand report, from reporters at the scene. That's the best we can have. But the jurors have seen Erin speak. And the jurors have seen the children speak. Everything we haven't been able to see, the jurors have seen. So we just have to hope that that's the impression they've got as well. But, yeah, there was definitely another beef Wellington for Simon was lucky. And, there are supposedly, Simon has spent a long time in hospital with a mystery illness. And of course, that charge of attempted murder against him was dropped, so we can't. I will be talking about that when the jury finally go out, or maybe when this case is finally resolved. A lot more is going to come out, isn't it, about those attempts on Simon's life that for the moment have been quelled because they've decided to drop that charge. Probably it would get too confusing. God, this has been bad enough, isn't it? I think perhaps the investigators, they just wanted to they felt they could prove these charges. And then if Erin is found guilty, I think there's a lot more going to come out about Erin. So much more. So, Justice Beale takes the jury to Erin Patterson's evidence on the leftovers. The accused previously said she didn't want to cook anything on the Sunday night after the lunch, so she gave the children leftovers. She told the jury she had one full beef Wellington left over, that was Simon's obviously, as well as what she didn't eat of her own portion. Now, don't forget, Erin had a long time to organise what she was going to show the police or not, because after she discharged herself from hospital, after 5 minutes, she then had nearly, an hour and a half, where she supposedly went home, put the lambs in the paddock, prepared her daughter's ballet bag, and had her lie down. But of course, that wasn't what she was doing. She was disposing of evidence, or, arranging evidence. And the plates, that'll be when the plates disappeared. We still don't know what's happened to the plates, do we? So she previously gave evidence that she scraped the mushrooms off the meat before serving it to her children, along with mashed potatoes and beans. She said she might have had a bowl of cereal herself. Yeah, whatever. She was supposed to have a bad tummy. She was still eating. Erin never stopped eating, did she? Didn't she have, where was it that night or the night before? I've lost track of all the things Erin was eating. She never lost her appetite, did she? The prosecution pointed out that Miss Patterson was aware Gail and Don Patterson were unwell at about 2:30 on the Sunday, and suggested that Miss Patterson certainly, sorry, I'm just looking to see where the dogs are. Miss Patterson certainly did not feed the leftovers to her children. And she disagreed with that and said she did. You wouldn't do it. If you've had people over, it doesn't make sense. You have people over to lunch, they get ill. You're not going to then give your children the leftovers from that lunch. So Justice Beale highlights that in her evidence, Miss Patterson said she didn't remember saying they were the lunch leftovers to her children, but she agreed that she said they were leftovers. My ice cube's disappeared. I'll have to go and get some more ice in a moment. Oh, then they went out for lunch. So when they returned to the courtroom, where are we? In cross-examination, the prosecution put to Miss Patterson she never fed her children the leftovers, but Miss Patterson disagreed. Justice Beale flags a couple of issues with some of the arguments made by the prosecution and says he'll come back to those issues. The judge is spending a little more time on the question of leftovers before turning to the next alleged instance of incriminating conduct. We've previously heard that Erin Patterson knew some of her lunch guests had become unwell by the Sunday evening after the lunch, and Justice Beale reminds the jury that during the trial, the prosecution rhetorically asked, why would she feed the kids leftovers if she thought this was the case? Exactly. He highlights evidence in the trial that the children were completely symptom-free and points to other evidence that if the children had eaten the leftover meat, they would have experienced at least some symptoms. And the prosecution argued that people would more readily believe this was a shocking accident if Miss Patterson gave her children the same meal. That was what was the reasoning that was behind it. But of course, that was when she was saying she didn't know that death cap mushrooms. Now she's saying she accepts that death cap mushrooms were in there. So Justice Beale tells the jury to disregard the argument that toxins would have penetrated the leftover meat Erin Patterson said she fed her children. The prosecution suggested the children would have become unwell if they ate the leftovers, but the judge says no expert was asked whether they would still experience symptoms. I thought that was mentioned, but anyway, if the mushroom paste and pastry had been scraped off the leftover meat. You have no expert evidence as to if that would be the case, so I direct you to disregard that evidence. You would be speculating if you were to go down that path. He then turns his focus to another alleged incriminating act, Erin Patterson's reluctance to get medical treatment for her children. He returns to the evidence given by Kylie Ashton, one of the 50 witnesses, a nurse at Leongatha Hospital, who told the trial about a conversation she had with Miss Patterson. The nurse said she told Miss Patterson that scraping the mushroom paste off the leftovers she fed to her children would not guarantee they wouldn't get sick. Sorry, I've just got to look at their faces. Sorry. Where are we? The judge says another health worker stressed the urgency with which Miss Patterson should take the children to hospital for assessment. The judge mentions how Miss Patterson asked one of the doctors if a blood test could tell whether or not the children were sick. And he says Miss Patterson said she initially didn't want to worry the children, but eventually she agreed to bring them to hospital. We hear how Erin Patterson lacked trust. So this was something she said as well, didn't she? She didn't trust the healthcare system. She was at the bloody doctors every 5 minutes. She thought she had lupus. She thought she had a brain tumour. She thought she had ovarian cancer. She was always at the doctors. She was supposedly, and thank God she didn't, and I hope she never will, even if she's acquitted, she was wanted to train to be a nurse and a midwife. But she said she lacked trust in the healthcare system. So that is a definite, I think the like button's got to come out for that. No, if you don't have trust in the health system, it's saying you've got cancer or you've got lupus or you've got a brain tumour. She said she didn't trust the health service, but she was a hypochondriac. You know, so it's just all lies. In my opinion, and my opinion on my channel is the only one that it counts. No, it is not, because of course all you chatters, all your opinion counts too. But you know, it's true though, isn't it? If you know, I don't like doctors and things like that, so I avoid going, you know, as much as I can. I won't go with every little thing that I've got. Probably I'm one of those people where it's like the opposite. There's times when I should go, but I don't go. I just hope for the best. Whereas Erin, she was always at the doctors, do you know? So it's just ridiculous. But anyway, liar, pants on fire, isn't she? So apparently, she didn't trust the healthcare system due to past experiences, including the birth of one of her children, but she wanted to be a midwife. Justice Beale then points out that Miss Patterson said she felt puzzled because she could not see how death cap mushrooms may have ended up in the meal. He tells the jury that Miss Patterson gave evidence that she wanted to collect her children from their school herself. She said that when a doctor at the hospital told her that death cap mushroom toxins may have gotten into the leftover meat, she understood the reason her children needed to be assessed. Justice Beale highlights how Miss Patterson did not take immediate action to contact the school and did not speak to Simon until around 11:30. She admitted she was initially reluctant to have the children assessed, as she did not think there was a real risk her children might die. She knew they wouldn't die because she knew they hadn't had any death cap mushrooms. You know, you would have your children down the hospital as soon as possible. And this, of course, is what the prosecution argued. So they argued her children did not consume the death caps because she knew that. So the prosecution said that was an extraordinary attitude. And they said the only reasonable explanation for this reluctance is that the accused, who you heard is a doting mother, knew they had not eaten death cap mushrooms. And the prosecution told the jury a parent would get their children to hospital as quickly as possible if they thought they had consumed deadly mushrooms, which of course they would. The judge says Erin Patterson's lawyer said the prosecution argument relies heavily on the evidence of nurse Kylie Ashton. So they put a slur on Kylie's. That's what they did with all the 50 witnesses. The defence's argument was to try and say, you know, their evidence wasn't reliable, but Erin's was. And remember, they didn't call any of them themselves as expert witnesses for Erin's defence. So the defence said Miss Ashton was mistaken about when she received the information about the children eating the leftovers. And the defence argued the nurse learned about the leftover meal much later than she said in her evidence. We then move on to the next topic of incriminating conduct, which is on Miss Patterson's alleged reluctance to receive medical treatment for herself. The jury was reminded of evidence given by nurse Cindy Munro, who said Miss Patterson said she didn't want any IV fluids, medication or intervention. Miss Patterson later gave evidence that she didn't say any of those things because the whole point of being in hospital was to receive treatment. The prosecution argues the evidence of Miss Monroe should be accepted and that Miss Patterson was resistant to treatment. Dr. Nanette Rogers questioned why Miss Patterson would be so reluctant to receive treatment if she ate the same meal as her guests, and the defence argued she was sick, but she was anxious about being in hospital. And defence lawyer Colin Mundy argued that if Miss Patterson was pretending to be sick, like the prosecution suggested, she would have told hospital staff to hook me up and provide medical intervention. Whatever, Colin. Let's see how. Now, I'm going to take a break in a little minute. I need to get some ice for my drink and have a bathroom break. So the jury, they had a break. They had a break without telling me. Listen, I'm going to have a little quick break. Oh, thank you, Joanne. Thank you. Let me put my thank you on. Still haven't organised. I need to organise another thank you thing, don't I? Little thank you dance, maybe. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I'm just looking back now through your comments, because sometimes when I'm holding forth, I can't look at your comments. I'm going to put a little video on for you. Well, I'll just have a little bathroom break. Now, I did see a little video earlier that I think you might thought you might have been interested in. Too short. I need a. Do you think 2 minutes is long enough for me to go to the loo? No, Erin did it in 9 seconds. Erin went to the loo in 9 seconds on her bathroom break, didn't she? I've got a little video here I can show you, but it's 2 minutes 12 seconds. I don't think that's long enough for me. What about this one? How long is this one? 1:38. Oh, what's this? Oh, I've not seen this girl before. Lisa Mushroom Trial. I went to Erin Patterson's house and I was lost for words. Oh, it's only, oh, thank you. It's only 6 seconds, so that's not long enough. I think we'll have a look at this one. Oh, this one's 5 minutes. That's a bit more like it. Take me at least 5 minutes. We may have seen
to serve the beef Wellingtons.
Patterson
denied.
So from plates to portion sizes, Erin Patterson has today been accused of repeatedly lying to the jury in her triple murder trial.
Accused mushroom murderer Erin Patterson back in the witness box for a 6th day. Questioned about the plates she used to serve the beef Wellingtons. Patterson denying she'd taken...
So from plates to portion sizes, Erin Patterson has today been accused of repeatedly lying to the jury in her triple murder trial.
Accused mushroom murderer Erin Patterson back in the witness box for a 6th day. Questioned about the plates she used to serve the beef Wellingtons. Patterson denying she'd taken the extra precaution of using a different and smaller plate to the rest of her guests.
I don't have 5 plates the same, so somebody would have had different plates. I don't have 4 plates the same either. When I plated the food, it wasn't for particular people.
Patterson accused repeatedly of lying. That she'd lied about only eating a small portion of beef Wellington.
I didn't have a tape measure. It's all approximate.
That she'd lied about vomiting afterwards to try and account for why she didn't get as sick as her guests.
I wish that was true, but it's not.
Patterson disputing a hospital doctor's evidence that she asked no questions despite learning her guests were sick from death cap mushroom poisoning.
I definitely tried to ask questions. He may not have heard me. He was very busy. I remember saying to him at the very least, why do you think we've eaten death cap mushrooms?
The prosecution putting to Patterson that she was stressed during the hospital visit.
I suggest that you were shocked that the doctors were onto death cap mushrooms so quickly and you were worried you were going to get caught. Correct or incorrect?
Incorrect. I don't think anyone tried to ask me that question, so I don't know what you're referring to.
Erin Patterson has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
For the latest on the case, crime and justice reporter for The Age, Erin Patterson, was in court today. So Erin Patterson was accused of lying a number of times today. How did she react to that?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of reaction from Erin Patterson in the courtroom today. She was asked many different questions about, I suggest that you did this or did that, or this was the motivation behind your actions. And most of her answers were, I disagree, or no, you're incorrect. There wasn't a lot of emotion at all today. There was a little bit of confusion, particularly around some questioning we heard this morning about a weight loss surgery appointment. The jury had been told by Erin Patterson that she had booked for September 2023. Now, this was part of her evidence that we heard late last week, that she said that she was allowing her family members to think perhaps that she was unwell and may need surgery because she wanted to keep this weight loss surgery, this gastric band sleeve type surgery, a secret from her family. And it was during her evidence last week that she named a clinic. She said it was the Enrich Clinic in Melbourne, where she had an appointment, a pre-operative appointment, to go and see a specialist there. But when Nanette Rogers SC took to the stand this morning, the Crown prosecutor fired off questions about that appointment straight away and said, Miss Patterson, do you know that it's a cosmetic clinic and it doesn't actually perform weight loss surgery? And it was at that point Erin Patterson appeared quite confused and said, well, she believed that's the surgery that she was going for.
Erin Patterson was grilled over her movements after she discharged herself from hospital. What did the prosecution say?
Yeah, so we know that she went to hospital 2 days after the lunch at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and she was there for about 10 minutes, and she told staff that she needed to leave. She wasn't prepared to be admitted to go to a Melbourne hospital. She thought that she may just have gastro and need some IV fluid. So she said that she needed to go home and sort out her pets, her animals, and sort out her children as well, and will be back shortly. But the jury were told the evidence is that she actually didn't return to hospital for an hour and 38 minutes. The prosecution today suggested that Erin Patterson didn't go home to organise her life before intending to go back to hospital. Perhaps she just left because she was worried that the medical staff had coined on to the fact that death cap mushrooms may be involved so early on, and she needed to make preparations. We also heard that there was some cell tower data that placed her mobile phone southwest of Leongatha during this time. Erin Patterson denied all of those allegations and said, no, she went home, she had a bit of a sleep, took care of what she needed to take care of, and then returned to the hospital just before 10 a.m.
You mentioned Patterson's children. Today she was interrogated about her reluctance to take them to hospital. What did we learn about that?
That's right. It's a question that's been asked of Miss Patterson many times during this trial, and it was a particular time when she was at Leongatha Hospital that the jury have been told it was first raised with her that she needed to bring the children in to be examined. Potentially they may have ingested some of the lunch leftovers. She was asked, yes, did you have a reluctance to stay? Did you have a reluctance to bring them into hospital and have them treated? Because that was the evidence of some of the other witnesses. And Erin Patterson said, no, that's not true at all. She didn't have a reluctance to bring them in. She just wanted to find out a little bit more about why they wanted them to come in and what that would involve. And that's when she mentioned today the evidence of a Dr. Christopher Webster, who was at the Leongatha Hospital. And she said that the way that he spoke to her made her feel like it was quite a bizarre exchange. And she alleged that he yelled at her, which she now says she realises after he gave evidence that was really his inside voice. But that made her quite anxious and was one of the other reasons that she may have been or appeared to be a bit stressed at the time.
All right, many more threads will be pulled on, I imagine. Erin, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I just got back in time. I'm going to swap. Let me just put my... Okay, so took me 9 minutes. I mean, I did go and get a drink as well and fresh ice and what have you. So, but it was a lot more than 9 seconds, wasn't it, to pop to the toilet? You know, whereas Erin can do it in 9 seconds, even when she's got a dodgy tummy, because she just goes and does a poo in the bush and cleans it up afterwards. You know, like you would if you got caught short and you had to go to the loo in the bush. Of course, you would clean it up, wouldn't you? So she must have just happened to have a poo bag with her. Literally, like a grown up. I mean, has she got a dog even, or was it a poo bag from the sheep? You know, you need a bloody big poo bag, wouldn't you? Oh dear me. I did a lot in 9 minutes. There's a lot you can do in 9 minutes. In 9 seconds, you can't do bugger all. Which, of course, we know. We know that it's all a load of cojones, isn't it? It's all a load of rubbish. What Erin said. God knows what she did in that service station. She disposed of something, that's for sure. But just the way she said, oh, yeah, I cleared up what I did in the bush. How? How do you clear up diarrhea from the bush? You know, you just happen to have a load of cleaning stuff with you. Yeah, it's just ridiculous to say, you know, they're the most obvious, you know, anyway. We can see it. We can only hope that the jury sees it as well, because the jury is all that matters. So let's go on to the next topic. Let me have a little sip. So the jury returns after a short break. Hello, Riley. Oh, it's Riley. Are you coming up? Are you coming up to show me your haircut? Come here. So Riley got a haircut yesterday. He looks so beautiful when he's been cut. Well, he looks beautiful, whatever. Come here, come up. He won't come up. Where are you going? Where are you going? Yeah. You coming up? Come on. Come on. Normally he's right up here, but he just wants to cuddle. So the jury returns after a short break, and Justice Beale indicates there are a few more alleged instances of incriminating conduct to revisit. The disposal of the dehydrator, Erin Patterson's conduct regarding the phones. Yes, so don't forget she got rid of the dehydrator. And as we keep saying, it's not each of these things individually that point to Erin's guilt. It's putting everything together. You know, there's the, you know, you just can't, all these things together are little red flags that combine to massive red flags, don't they? You know, little red flags. Every single one is a red flag. We can't count the red flags in this case. You can't count them. You know? Anyway. So the disposal of the dehydrator, her conduct regarding the phones, and her alleged lies about being unwell. He then moves on to evidence that Simon Patterson gave about mushrooms that Miss Patterson said she dehydrated and put into muffins that were to their daughter. In that evidence, Mr. Patterson said he wasn't aware that Miss Patterson owned a dehydrator. We then move on to the next topic of incriminating conduct, which is on Miss Patterson's alleged reluctance to receive medical treatment for herself. The jury is reminded of evidence given by nurse Cindy Monroe. Oh, God. We've done that, haven't we? Have we done that? Yeah, we have. Sorry, I keep going downwards, but I've got to go upwards, haven't I? So we now return to the CCTV footage from the Coomwarra Way station, showing a woman arriving in a car and disposing of items. So again, you know, like the defence will argue, well, she wouldn't have done that in full view, but what else was she going to do with it? I don't think for a minute that Erin thought she would get spotted doing that. Whereas obviously she knew if she put it in her own bin, it would get found that it was her. I think she just underestimated the police investigation, in my opinion. So there is no dispute that the woman is Erin Patterson. And an employee then observed a dehydrator in one of the bins, which was later recovered by the police. And the jury heard evidence that Miss Patterson's fingerprints were found on the dehydrator. Now, I don't know if it's clear yet. Is it clear, or does anyone know? Did the police find that CCTV because they went around all the weigh stations in the area? Or was the employee at that weigh station, when he heard about the case, did they contact the police and say, oh, she was here, and she, did he find the dehydrator? Do we know? I don't know whether it was because the police found that footage because they were looking around all the weigh stations in the area, or whether it was the employee that said, oh, look, somebody's, I've seen this case. But, I don't know if that is clear. But anyway, it was obviously Erin Patterson. It was obviously her dehydrator. And the thing is, the worrying thing is that Erin told the police she had never had a dehydrator. She's only said she did when it was found out that, for 100% certain that she had. And she had told her Facebook friends that she'd been dehydrating mushrooms and putting them in chocolate muffins and God knows what. But when the police first asked her, she said, no, I don't. Dehydrated? What, me? Oh my God. Of course I've not got dehydrated. What would I be doing? What? Yeah, but we're back to the bloody Vicky Pollard defence. Yeah, but no, but maybe, but whatever, but. The judge then reminds the jury the evidence that alpha and beta amanita were detected samples collected from the dehydrator. These are toxins linked to death cap mushrooms. So the jury is directed to evidence Erin Patterson gave about the disposal of the dehydrator. We start with the discussion between Simon and Erin about dehydrating mushrooms. Mr. Patterson later told the court that Miss Patterson later told the court that Mr. Patterson asked her if that was how she poisoned his parents, which the accused said made her scared and worried. God, she's such a manipulator, Erin. She stood up there and she said, oh, it was the reason that I lied about the dehydrator was because Simon had asked her, is that how he put, it's his fault. He frightened her. He made her do it. Oh my God, please, don't you understand? Wasn't me, it was that Simon. And the accused apparently took the dehydrator to the tip 3 days after the lunch. Now remember, Simon denied ever saying that. So again, it came down to that. Did he say it? Or didn't he? Who do you believe? Do you believe Erin, the serial liar? Or do you believe Simon, who, as far as we know, hasn't told any lies? But we don't know. Maybe he is a liar. She told all her Facebook friends he was coercive controller and he was this, that, and the other. Maybe he is. All depends who you believe. So she gave evidence that she dumped the item and also because child protection officers were attending her house that afternoon. She was worried they would remove the custody of the children if they thought she was responsible for her relative's sickness. And Justice Beale points to 4 calculated deceptions or cover-ups argued by the prosecution, including the disposal of the dehydrator. The prosecution argued that if it were not for careful investigation of bank records, no one would have known about the dehydrator. But on the other hand, the defence argued that Mr. Patterson publicised the fact that she owned a dehydrator to her Facebook friends and disposed of it in a panic after the conversation with Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson denied asking Miss Patterson the question about using the device to poison his parents. So it just depends who you believe, doesn't it? Oh, and here we come to phone B. I just check you're all okay. Yeah, exactly, Joanne. I would definitely believe Simon just speak over Erin because Erin has told so many lies. You know, just ridiculous. So many red flags, as you say, Joanne. More flags than red square. Exactly, more red flags than red square, isn't it, David? That's what I've said from day one. More red flags than Moscow. God. Anyway, depends what the jury believes. I'm still not good. You never know. There'll be some people who think she's innocent. I've had a couple of comments, only a couple to be fair, on my channel from people saying, oh, this poor woman, she's not been given a job. Probably Erin commentating on it. Erin's probably on social media. Oh no, well, she is in custody though, to be fair. So I don't know who's going to support Erin. So who? She couldn't find anyone to support her defence. Her defence lawyer couldn't find anyone, not even her own sister, to bring in as a character witness. So who's going to support her? So the focus turns to a phone known to the trial as phone B. The jury is reminded of evidence about a phone search of Miss Patterson's home, after which she gave a mobile phone to the police. Miss Patterson had been allowed to use her phone unobserved during part of the search. The judge reminds the jury. Justice Beale talks about a factory reset of the phone that took place either during the search, when it was in Miss Patterson's possession, or after it was seized by police, depending on conflicting time zones. Justice Beale is now discussing phone identification codes that indicate a SIM card changed from one device into another. The SIM in question was at some stage put into phone B, the device Miss Patterson handed to police that had several factory resets. And this to me shows Erin's, this thing about the phone and the fact that she factory reset her phone even when it was in police custody, just shows her arrogance. How dare she do that? Really, even Stephen Stearns didn't do that. He didn't try and factory reset it again after it was in police custody. Erin is so superior. She's so fucking excuse my French, so effing clever as far as she's concerned. She is, she's trying to take the Michael out of the police. I just looked at it and I thought, I can't believe it. Surely it's still not, what'd you say, it's still not on internet connection. And it was. And so I just tried it. And oh my God, I factory reset it. Oh. These are the things that to me prove that Erin not only is a murderess, or a murderer, because people don't use these feminine words these days. Twonk and twonkess, everybody's the same thing. Well, I don't care. She's a murderess. She's a woman who's a murderer. She's a double deviant. It's unusual for a woman to murder. It's not unheard of, but it's rare. And she is one of them. And she thinks she is so clever, doesn't she? What she did to these poor people. These people that prayed for her, that cared about her, probably the only people who did ever care about her. And she whinges about her family, but of course her family are dead now. So, they can't give their side of the story. I think Erin probably was a spoiled, entitled brat right from when she was a child. And that's probably maybe her parents didn't like her, but she probably deserved it, all of it. We don't know that her parents were nasty to her. A lot of people say their parents are nasty when they're entitled brats. whinge about their parents. Stefan Stearns is another example of that. It's all my parents' fault. We've all, listen, nobody's a perfect parent. My parents weren't perfect. I've had to learn to sort of adjust to that. I mean, the thing is, when I was young, it's like thinking, they're not appreciating them and appreciating how difficult it is to be a parent. I'm not talking about like out and out abuse. Anyway, I don't want to get into the whole thing about it. But what I'm trying to say is, as you get older, you have children yourself, you realise it's not easy being a parent. Anybody who hasn't got children cannot understand that in a million years. If you don't have children, you don't understand what it's like to go through the teenage years, how difficult it is. And, look back then at your parents and what they had to go through, maybe not even with you particularly, but from another one of your siblings. That's really basically what happened to me. So it's like, all the sort of resentment, then understanding a little bit better, like what they were going through. No one's a perfect parent. I'm sure Erin's parents weren't perfect. I'm sure Erin isn't a perfect parent. Anyone who thinks they are a perfect parent, they're completely misjudged themselves. And I feel like Erin will blame a lot of things perhaps on her childhood. But where's her sister to confirm this then? Why wasn't her sister, who came from the same background, why wasn't she called as a defence witness to prove that Erin had a terrible childhood? Nobody is proving that, are they? It's just what Erin says. And, Erin, she's never had financial difficulties, has she? She inherited a lot of money from these horrible parents of hers. To me, Erin is an entitled, attention-seeking person who thinks the world owes her a living, even though she doesn't even need anything. She doesn't appreciate what she's got. She's got money. She's got 2 lovely children that she supposedly adores, but she fed them poison leftovers, apparently, or that she didn't know were poison leftovers. That's how good a mother she is. She took away their grandparents, allegedly, and their auntie, and she's still whinging about everything, isn't she? She still thinks she's cleverer than everybody. She's actually a really nasty woman, Erin. So, sorry, I went into a waffle then, didn't I? I went into a waffle, but it makes me angry. Makes me angry when people who should appreciate their life, should appreciate the fact that she's had a nice life, really, compared to the life some people have had. Now, she obviously had some issues about body image and stuff, but is she using that as well? I just don't believe a word she says, to be honest, anymore. I think she is entitled, and anyway, I'm going to stop waffling about that now and get on with the what I'm supposed to be doing. So there is another phone A, which was connected on February the 12th, 2023. Police later searched Miss Patterson's home for phone A, but it was never located. Officers said Miss Patterson also mentioned a Nokia phone in a police interview, which was also not seized. So, she's got more phones than James Bond, hasn't she? I mean, it's like, I did have 2 phones for a little while, but I've only got one now because I had to give the other one to number 1 son because his phone broke. But, in fact, I'm just thinking, where is my phone? Where is my phone? Oh, that's right in front of me, of course. Why has Erin got all these phones? Why? Why? So Justice Beale spends some time on mobile phone records that the jury has already seen. Members of the jury are directed to some photographs from the searches of Miss Patterson's home, showing items in various places. And he says it's a matter for the jury to decide whether some of these items show a phone or something else. Oh yeah, because the defence tried to say that the police had not searched the property properly. The phones were right there in full view. The police just didn't spot them. Justice Beale moves on to factory resets Erin Patterson agreed she carried out on phone B. She said one was done by her son. She told the jury one of the factory resets was to get her son's data off the phone. She blamed her son for a few things, didn't she? She said that the phone had fell in the mud or whatever. Oh, you know what? I've lost track of the lies she told. Miss Patterson has previously said she reset the phone again because she knew there were photos of mushrooms and the dehydrator on it. Her defence team said she panicked. She didn't want investigators to see him. No, she bloody well didn't. After the police search, Miss Patterson said she carried out another factory reset because she wondered if police had been silly enough to leave it connected after it was seized. Oh my God, this is what I was saying to you. So, yeah, that's what you do though, isn't it? You carry out another factory reset because you're just wondering, have the police been silly enough to leave it connected after it was seized? Oh, because Super Sleuth, she needed to see if the police were as thick as she thought they were. Oh my God, I need another button. I need another button. I need a button not only for, lies, which I'm going to play. Don't I, or something? Like, I haven't got one like that. I haven't got any, no. She's more than a liar. She's nasty, evil person. That's what I need a button for, isn't it? I mean, I've got the what a twonk emoji, haven't we, on the members' emojis? Yeah, we have got that. But it's just not saying enough, is it? No, I feel like I want to say more about Erin. There's nothing that Erin says about her childhood that has been corroborated by anybody else. Even her own sister. Why didn't they call her sister for the defence? Because she hasn't had any. She's had a privileged childhood. She's she's inherited a lot of money from these horrible parents of hers, according to her, and she can say what she likes now because they're dead. But even her sister's not come to speak for her. Yeah. She carried out another factory reset because she wondered if police had been silly enough to leave it connected after it was seized. She's so supercilious. Erin Patterson gave evidence she didn't know where phone A was when police conducted a search of her home. She told the jury phone A went into a skip bin, which is something she occasionally did. She also mentioned feeling puzzled when she noticed phone A hadn't been seized during the police search of her home. Oh, again, the police are just rubbish, according to Erin. Yeah, do you know what? The police definitely fell for her manipulation because she should never have been left alone with her phone, and she was. She said she had to go and phone her lawyer. They allowed her to go. They did make that mistake. They allowed her to go, didn't they, into that room on her own with the phone, and God knows what she did there. She has manipulated, and don't forget, one of the people that used to work for her, with her, said she could twist men around her little finger. I don't know how, do you? Sometimes men do fall for crying, don't they? It's like, she probably turned on the waterworks, or, some men can't cope with emotions, can they? So, she was there, oh, I'm so upset, so I'm crying. Maybe that, and also, you know, maybe she blamed it on her periods or whatever, because that's something that men can't cope with either. You know, if women sort of start, oh well, it's to do with my periods or whatever, men are just like, oh no, I don't want to know anymore about that. You know, I think that's something as well. I mean, maybe she did manipulate men that way. I don't know if she manipulated them with her womanly wiles. She's got quite big bosoms, and you know, sometimes men can be swept over by that. I'm sorry, men, but you can. It does happen. I just don't know how Erin, you know, manipulated men so easily, but there you go. So Justice Beale says that the prosecution argued a phone number ending in 783 was Miss Patterson's regular mobile number. The prosecution highlighted phone records showing the accused used it to visit various websites, and it was listed on her hospital admission documents. Justice Beale, sorry, I think I've been bitten. Let me just undo my... I've been bitten by a mosquito on my foot. Justice Beale reminds the jury of the prosecution argument. There are 4 phones linked to Miss Patterson, only one of which was seized by police. And Prosecutor Nanette Rogers said Miss Patterson used phone A in hospital on July the 31st and in August to contact Simon Patterson. And Dr. Rogers called on the jury to reject the accused's suggestion that she changed phones. And Justice Beale highlights evidence that phone A was still in use up to the police search on August the 5th, saying the prosecution argued it was being handled during the search without investigators' knowledge before losing connection. And they say it later reconnected to a Nokia device. She was fiddling about with that phone while the police were there. The prosecution has called phone B a dummy phone, and it argues that Miss Patterson wanted to conceal phone A, and it also says police found nothing on phone B because of the factory resets. Phone B was linked to a number ending in 835, which was connected on the 11th of July 2023, and other than 3 calls, it was used just for data, the prosecution said. Meanwhile, Justice Beale reminds the jury the defence questioned why would Erin Patterson go to all that trouble, and defence lawyer Colin Mandy said that if his client was a murderer who wanted to conceal all the evidence, why didn't she just do a factory reset of phone A? He argued that Miss Patterson did not know police were going to search her home on August the 5th, and the phone would have been long gone if the prosecution's case was accurate. Thank God, that's it for the day. Justice Beale tells the jury he has one more topic to cover. Oh no more. In relation to alleged incriminating conduct. And he says when the jury returns tomorrow, he will address Erin Patterson's alleged lies about being unwell. The jury is then sent out and court is adjourned until tomorrow. So there'll be more tomorrow, then there'll be more on Monday. Then finally, hopefully, we will. Is this a video? It's not a video, so. No, I'm going to find a video perhaps to finish off on. So, what do you think? That's it for today. What do we think of that? Sorry, I'm just looking back through the chat. So, have you got a link to that clip, Maria? Maria says there's a clip online of a sister present. You don't have a link, do you? I'm going to have a look for it. So that is she called Scudder? So remember that Erin Patterson's maiden name is Scudder. Let's see. I don't even know what her name is, to be honest. Let's have a look. I don't seem to be able to find that clip, but I mean, it'll be online somewhere. Having a look on. Having a look on Reddit, but I can't see a link to the actual video. Let's see. So her sister is Dr. Sainwen Scudder, apparently. Let's have a look if I can find anything. Oh, I might have found it. Right, so no. Sorry, I'm just looking for this. See if I can find this clip. I can't find the clip. It's supposedly on this. Yeah, I found her name. This is her name. Dr. Sainwen Scudder. This is the sister's name. I found that. But when I put her in the search engine, let's try again. Monash University. Maybe it was on there. Maybe she's taking it off because I won't blame her, to be honest. Oh. So she's on the, let's see. I would imagine that whatever she had online, she's taken off. Don't you think? So apparently her mother, Heather Scudder, was also an academic. Well, she was an academic at Monash University. Yeah, and people are saying on here, why wasn't she a defence witness? You know what? I just think that Erin, she'll whinge about her parents and whinge about her family, but there's no proof of it. No proof of it. Nobody's been on there to say she had a terrible childhood or anything. It's just what she says. Yeah, a lot of people on Reddit asking the same thing. No? Where is her sister and why did she not why did her sister not testify in Erin's defence? That's quite funny. Sorry, I'm just looking at something here that's quite funny. I shouldn't. Anyway, yeah, maybe I'll have a little. Now, I feel a little bit sorry for Sainwen because, she just happens to be the sister of a triple murderer or a possible triple murderer. I don't think, she hasn't done anything as far as we know. Apparently she's a baker. She's an avid baker. Now, a case that I'm going to talk about tonight in Members was a person who was known as a baker. So, bakers, cooks, etc. It's not necessarily a good thing, is it? I'll just have one more look. Let's see what the Daily Mail say about it. Because, the Daily Mail, they can be a bit of a pain, but they normally get, they get the information, do they? Don't they? Let's see. They're not really saying much about the sister. They mention her, but I think it's going to be quite hard to find something out about her. Now, just to say, so last year, Simon spent 21 days in intensive care after collapsing at his home in May 2022. He said, right, let's have a look at this because I think this is something that Erin is suspected of bringing about, but hasn't been allowed to be brought up in this case because this is not what, she's being prosecuted for. Though she wasn't initially prosecuted for it, but it was cancelled, wasn't it? I collapsed at home, that Simon said, and then I was in an induced coma for 16 days, through which I had 3 emergency operations, mainly on my small intestine, plus an additional planned operation. My family were asked to come and say goodbye to me twice, as I was not expected to live. I have a big scar on my tummy which is healing itself slowly, and I have ICU acquired weakness, which is a common condition of people who lie in intensive care for a long time, as I did. I can walk and do all the normal functions, daily functions myself, but my left shoulder in particular is very weak. So, Ms. Patterson has a multi-million-dollar property portfolio. God, she is such a horrible person. Do you know she wasn't happy with her multi-million-dollar property portfolio? She borrowed the money or lent the money to Simon's relatives, and you know what I think of that. She lent the money to them and they weren't grateful enough. She's an Indian giver. She expected, by lending that money, she expected to be practically revered and, treated like the queen bee of the family. And when she wasn't, because they didn't invite her to every single thing that they did, she got angry. That's my opinion. And it said that her mother, noted children's literature professor, Dr. Heather Scudder, left a house in her will when she died in early 2019. That's where Erin got her money from, wasn't it? Oh dear. So that's the property that Erin served up the lunch, probably on that terrace, was it? Yeah. What a bitch. I mean, to me, she just sat there and watched them eat it. She sat there, watched every mouthful, and then let them pray for her, for the cancer that she didn't have. And she don't believe in God, and she thought it was, she mocked them for being religious, spiritual. And when we saw the video of Ian, the survivor, you can see how religious he is. Whether we agree with it or not, that's Ian's beliefs. Doesn't matter if we believe in God or not. Doesn't matter if we believe in Christ or not. It's not up to us to tell anybody else what they should think. She sat there and let them pray for her, knowing what she'd just fed them. She's really is. I think if Erin is found guilty, we'll have a look at this video actually. What happens if you eat a death cap mushroom? I think if Erin is found guilty, she'll go down as one of the most notorious murderers of all time, because it's so horrible what she did, allegedly.
¿Se puede reclamar una tarjeta de crédito de Withing o Carrefour? Claro que sí. Si has tenido una tarjeta de crédito de Withing, de Carrefour o cualquier otra tarjeta de crédito con intereses abusivos, puedes reclamar y recuperar tu dinero. Miles de personas ya han recuperado hasta miles de euros con nosotros. Y lo mejor, sin pagar nada por adelantado. Si tienes una tarjeta, haz clic aquí y reclama ahora. Solo te llevará 1 minuto.
Oh, sorry. No, I think it's interesting what he's saying there about, remember, with Heather Wilkinson, if you can remember back, because there's that much we've heard, Heather and Gail seem to get the worst symptoms, whether it's because they were slimmer maybe, I don't know, but they seem to get the worst symptoms. Their liver, Heather's liver died, just stopped functioning. I think they didn't get the antidote into them quick enough. I don't know, if whether, I think probably you'd have to give it them. When they very first went to the hospital, this charcoal stuff that they gave him, the hospital tried so hard. I feel for all the staff as well at the hospital who tried so hard to save these people. And that will have been distressing for them that they didn't manage to save them, won't it? That's trauma for them as well. And now they've been discredited as witness because Erin is saying, no, I never said that. No. I don't trust the health service. They're all untrustworthy. That's why I want to be a nurse or a midwife. She's cast aspersions on so many people. Oh my God, I hope this woman gets her comeuppance. But she'll get it one way or another, of course. But it'd be nice if she got it in this life. And yeah, somebody mentioned that maybe she did murder her parents. I think there's a lot if Erin is found guilty, there's going to be so many things come out about this woman. She's a nasty, dangerous woman, I think. Sorry, I've turned the sound down on this because YouTube doesn't like music. It can, Oh, that's it anyway. Anyway, I think that's it now. What did you say you searched, Win? Hang on, sorry, just search Dr. Scudder. It's Scudder, not Scudder though, isn't it? Well, let me have a look. I couldn't find a picture. Let's see. I think I'm tired now, so I'm keying it all in wrong. It can't be a shot. Oh, God, it wants me to sign into LinkedIn. I'm not signing. I hate LinkedIn. Just want to have a look at her pictures. That's not her. I'm not having much luck here. Anyway, if anybody finds any links to Dr. Scudder, Erin's sister, please send them to me. I can't find anything on here. Yeah, send them to me by email because I'd like to sort of have a look at her. I mean, not that it's her fault, of course. It's a shame for her because it's nothing to do with her. Yeah. Anyway, if you've got any links, send them to me because, to be honest, it'd take too long for me to keep looking. If anyone's got a link, that would be brilliant. Thank you. Please send it. Anyway, I'm going now. I'm going to go and have lunch, try and cool down a little bit. I'll be back tonight for members. If you're not a member, please join and come and join us tonight for another chat. Not about Erin. What we're going to be talking about tonight in members, I think this is what I've decided, is a serial killer. And I'll tell you why. This person that I want to talk about tonight, I'll tell you why I want to talk about them. Because the Barry Morphew, Susan Morphew case of Barry supposedly, allegedly, using deer tranquilizers on Suzanne to, you know, sedate her, if you like, before whatever he did to her. Who knows what he did to that poor woman. I don't think we'll ever find out the absolute truth of what happened that day, because even if I think if Barry is found guilty of murder, he'll never admit what really happened. But it's reminded me of a serial killer case of a serial killer who used to hunt women down like deer. Exactly, very similar. But of course, you know, Barry did it to his ex-wife. I'm talking about a serial killer that would prey on victims. And also, he was a baker, funnily enough. You know, a man of a very good reputation, as they often are, serial killers. You know, everyone really surprised when it was found out how many women he'd killed and how he'd done it. Real, one of those cases that you just think if you didn't know the truth of it, you wouldn't think it could ever really happen. And Barry Morphew has reminded me of this person. So that's what I'm going to tell you about tonight in Members. Anyway, we have a chat, we have a dance, we have a little sing-song, listen to, you know, we do some feel-good things as well. But thank you for caring about these victims, you know, for caring about Dodd, Gail, Heather and Ian, of course, although Ian is still at least alive. Thank you for caring. And you know what? We've got more tomorrow. Mañana más. There's always more tomorrow, isn't there? Thank you so much. Oh, and Joanne, special thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you that have sent me super stickers or Ko-fis, etc. Thank you. I really appreciate your extra bits of support as well as watching this channel. Thank you. I'll see you really soon in the next video, as always. And until then, may your God go with you. And by the way, I don't feel so stressed anymore. So thank you to you all for making me feel less stressed. Bye.